A streak of light, unlike anything ever recorded over Mars, erupted across the Martian sky on October 2025. It moved faster than any object the red planet had ever witnessed at a staggering 60 kilometers per second. Silent, precise, deliberate. For a moment, NASA's Perseverance rover captured the flash in its cameras before they suddenly went dark. It happened so fast that no one could react in time. Then, something stranger occurred. Every orbiting spacecraft, monitoring the flyby of 3 Atlas, the mysterious interstellar visitor, abruptly stopped transmitting data. No warning, no explanation, just a sharp silence. When the first unofficial frames of the event surfaced, they showed a faint emerald flash just above Mars' horizon, and the entire scientific community froze. This wasn't just a comet. No comet should move like that, and no object should glow like this, without any trace of carbon or water vapor. Something had happened in those missing frames, and what followed would change everything we knew about interstellar visitors. The first glimpse into this mystery came from a single amateur astronomer, Stephen Burns. He posted a 9-minute time-lapse created from Perseverance's public image archive. In the sequence, a razor-thin streak cut across the Martian sky, its speed exceeding any known meteor or object, far beyond the speed of anything we've ever observed. The path aligned perfectly with the predicted trajectory of 3 Atlas during its closest approach to Mars. Within hours, the footage went viral. Experts from across the globe scrambled to confirm or dismiss the frames. Some verified the streak, others argued it was just a glitch. But one detail kept reappearing in the analysis: an anomalous green flash. Captured at exactly 0 hours and 3 seconds UTC, this flash wasn't ordinary. It was too sharp, too bright, and too synchronized to be a mistake. The question began to echo through observatories worldwide. What had Perseverance seen? Was it a chemical emission, a cosmic ray, or something deliberately moving through the Martian night? And if it was 3 Atlas, why had all the official data channels gone silent precisely at that moment? Normally, Mars orbiter data floods public archives within days, but this time nothing arrived. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the Trace Gas Orbiter, and Mars Express, all confirmed to have observed the flyby, went completely quiet. No raw images, no preliminary files, and no telemetry data, just vague statements hinting at ongoing data verification. Meanwhile, inside NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, teams were working under intense scrutiny, verifying each image, ensuring no false fragments were being fabricated by even the slightest error. Every cosmic ray strike was being manually flagged. But something else was at play. Internal memos soon revealed that instruments had detected objects near 3 Atlas that appeared to move in perfect synchronization, small, faint companions trailing the object in tight formation. The motion wasn't random. It was deliberate, geometric. Some engineers labeled it debris fields, but others whispered a different word: probes. As the Mars data backlog grew, the only telescope still monitoring the event was the James Webb Space Telescope. It waited for 3 Atlas to emerge from Mars' shadow. When the partial spectral readings finally reached Earth, they only deepened the mystery. Spectral analysis typically reveals a comet's green glow as a signature of dicarbon C, 2 molecules excited by sunlight. But the readings from Mars orbiters showed no dicarbon. Instead, they revealed unusually high levels of carbon dioxide, nickel, and cyanogen chemicals no comet in our solar system has ever displayed. Even more puzzling was the ratio of nickel to iron. Where nickel dominated by an order of magnitude, the readings didn't fit any known models. Some scientists speculated exotic formation zones in interstellar space. Others guessed contamination from unknown alloys. But one question lingered: how could the green glow behave as though carbon was burning when there was no carbon to burn? The data from the James Webb Telescope, combined with the spectral readings from Mars orbiters, plunged the scientific community further into uncertainty. No comet should have emitted these readings. The glow, the chemicals, and the formation of 3 Atlas were beyond any known cometary phenomenon. As the mystery deepened, the scientists at NASA and ESA were faced with an unthinkable possibility. What if this object wasn't just a comet at all? Then, something even stranger occurred. Mars Express and the Trace Gas Orbiter both recorded an event that no comet should ever produce: a forward jet. Normally, when a comet approaches the Sun, it ejects material away from it, driven by solar radiation. But this was different. Instead of the usual outgassing pushing the comet away from the Sun, the jet appeared to be blasting directly toward it. The jet's structure was impossibly narrow, its brightness gradient too steep, and its geometry far too perfect. This wasn't just a natural process, it was as though the object itself was propelling the jet rather than reacting to the Sun's heat. And yet, despite the visible outgassing, the trajectory of 3 Atlas didn't change. Its path remained perfectly aligned with its predicted course, showing no measurable deviation. This was something new, something that defied the laws of cometary physics. Even more perplexing was the mass of the object. Initial calculations placed its mass at over 10 billion tons, far heavier than any known comet. It was more akin to a massive metallic asteroid, stable and dense, showing no signs of the volatility typical of a comet. The very structure of the object seemed to defy the natural forces we knew to be true. And still, the question remained: what exactly was 3 Atlas? The theories began to shift. What if 3 Atlas wasn't just shedding dust, as comets typically do? What if it was activating something, an internal mechanism, that had yet to be understood? Was the object alive, or merely a carefully designed machine? These ideas weren't just speculative, they began to surface more frequently in the reports being passed around NASA and the ESA. The ambiguity of the data had now shifted the focus from what 3 Atlas was to what it was doing. It wasn't just a passive object. It was exhibiting behavior that suggested intelligence. Then, as the object passed behind Mars, an unsettling development occurred. The Deep Space Network, responsible for monitoring communications between spacecraft, began detecting strange interference in the signals. At first, the engineers attributed it to solar wind or some anomaly from the charged tail of the object, but the rhythmic pulses became impossible to ignore. Every 22 seconds, a faint spike echoed through the communication channels, almost as if it were a deliberate transmission. The pattern wasn't strong enough to be a transmission, yet it was too consistent to be dismissed as random noise. This strange interference echoed through both NASA's and ESA's receivers. It wasn't just some cosmic fluke. It felt like something was responding to the object's trajectory. Whatever was causing the signal seemed to be synchronized with the object's motion. As Mission Control described it, this was electromagnetic resonance, a strange hum that filled the silence. But when they reviewed the signal's playback, what they heard was more unnerving than they could have imagined. It wasn't the usual hum of space. There was a low mechanical vibration embedded within the signal, almost as though something was moving, adjusting, and responding. And then the James Webb Telescope began to track the object more closely, just as it was emerging from Mars' shadow. Scientists braced themselves for what they were about to see, expecting the usual faint, blurry images typical of distant comets. But when the infrared data arrived, It didn't match expectations. Instead of a single, diffuse object, the data revealed something far more startling. Three distinct thermal signatures appeared in the frame, each one precisely positioned. The first matched three atlases' expected location, but the second and third were smaller, cooler, and flanked the primary object at equal distances. These two companion fragments weren't just floating aimlessly, they were moving in perfect formation, almost like they were adjusting their position in correlation with Mars' magnetic field. This wasn't natural behavior. It was as if these objects were not only aligned with each other, but were also working in concert with the environment. In infrared, the companions emitted faint arcs of ionized material, forming what appeared to be electrical filaments between them. The glow from three atlas remained faintly green in visible light, but in infrared, the companions pulsed with heat. The exact timing of their movements and the way they adjusted their position seemed to suggest a methodical approach, an intentional design that was beginning to become clear. It was as though three atlas had synchronized itself not just with Mars, but with the entire surrounding space. It wasn't just a comet, it was becoming something more, something orchestrated. This new data left scientists questioning the object's origins, and the realization began to set in. Three atlas was behaving in ways no comet or any natural object should. As the object's movements became more deliberate, more synchronized with the planetary systems around it, one thing became undeniable. It was not just traveling through space. It was communicating. But to whom? And why? As the data streamed in, the mystery surrounding three atlas deepened. The infrared signatures from the James Webb Telescope revealed even more perplexing behavior. The companions flanking the primary object didn't just remain in position, they adjusted their alignment with Mars's magnetic field, a phenomenon that suggested deliberate control over their motion. The patterns were no longer random. The entire formation appeared engineered, a carefully orchestrated system moving through space with precision. This wasn't just a comet. It was a series of objects, moving together in unison, performing a complex dance through the solar system. Then came the moment that shattered all remaining doubts. The infrared spectrum revealed the presence of pure nickel vapor. Nickel, a dense and unyielding metal, shouldn't vaporize at such low temperatures, especially not near Mars. Yet, the spectral data was clear. An unusually high concentration of nickel was being released. Even more troubling were the traces of cobalt and an unknown compound emitting faint but structured emission peaks. The emissions were perfectly timed, perfectly spaced, too regular to be natural. This was the signature of a process far beyond ordinary cometary outgassing. It was as though three atlas was refining itself, reorganizing its surface composition in response to the heat of the Sunday. But why? The scientific community was left scrambling for answers. How could an object from interstellar space produce such unusual emissions? Theories flew in all directions, but none could explain the data fully. Some suggested that three atlas was a relic from an unknown stellar system, subjected to unknown processes. Others hinted at the possibility of contamination from exotic alloys or alien technology. But the questions remained unanswered. Why was three atlas emitting nickel vapor? And why was it behaving with such deliberate precision? As scientists continued to analyze the data, a new possibility emerged. Was three atlas emitting signals disguised as light? The green glow that had once been attributed to carbon molecules now seemed more like a beacon, a signal sent from somewhere far beyond the stars. The rhythm of the pulses, the deliberate nature of the object's movement, and the mysterious emissions all pointed to one unsettling conclusion. Three atlas wasn't a natural object at all. It was a signal, encoded in light, possibly waiting for a response. The anomaly didn't stop there. As the James Webb Telescope continued tracking the object, a bizarre electromagnetic resonance began to fill the space around 3 Atlas. It was subtle at first, a faint rhythm embedded within the signal noise, but it quickly became impossible to ignore. Every 22 seconds, a faint spike would echo through the communication channels, identical on both NASA and ESA receivers. This wasn't interference, it was too regular, too precise. It was as though 3 Atlas itself was transmitting data, responding to its trajectory through space. But why? Scientists were stunned. This rhythmic signal, though faint, was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't strong enough to be a full transmission, yet it was clearly deliberate. It echoed the same frequency patterns seen in the electromagnetic pulses from the object earlier, but now it seemed as though 3 Atlas was purposefully generating it. Was this an attempt at communication? If so, who or what was the object trying to reach? And why did it seem so intent on synchronizing itself with the natural rhythms of the solar system? With each passing day, the data from the Deep Space Network grew more strange. Engineers began to detect faint pulses embedded within the signal from the Martian orbiters, a low mechanical vibration that seemed to grow more pronounced before cutting to dead silence. It was as if 3 Atlas was testing something, its own energy, its own signal, its own purpose. And as the pulse continued, something else occurred. An unmistakable pattern began to emerge. The rhythmic signal wasn't just random. It was a perfect match to the object's orbital motion, each pulse aligning with 3 Atlas's trajectory, as though the object was calibrating itself, adjusting its path with each passing moment. This wasn't just an object passing through the solar system, it was actively engaged in some form of communication, some exchange with the universe, and perhaps with us. As the weeks passed, the mystery surrounding 3 Atlas only deepened. The data from the James Webb Telescope began to reveal an even more disturbing truth. When the object emerged from behind Mars, the infrared data revealed 3 distinct thermal signatures, each positioned perfectly in relation to the others. One was the primary nucleus of 3 Atlas, but the other 2 were smaller, cooler fragments flanking the main object, maintaining perfect synchronization as they adjusted their positions relative to Mars's magnetic field. This wasn't just natural motion, it was a deliberate configuration, almost like the object was maintaining its stability in relation to the planets and magnetic forces around it. The companions seemed to be moving as one, adjusting in tandem, with a precision that seemed beyond the capabilities of any natural object. Was this the behavior of a technological system? Or was 3 Atlas simply a cosmic artifact with an intelligence far beyond our understanding? To make matters even more perplexing, when the visible light data was combined with the infrared readings, faint arcs of ionized material appeared, connecting the 3 thermal signatures in a pattern that resembled electrical filaments. The pattern wasn't just an anomaly, it was deliberate, like energy flowing through a circuit. The entire system, 3 Atlas and its companions, was emitting energy in a way that no comet should ever be able to. The objects were glowing in a pattern consistent with some form of controlled propulsion. The more scientists analyzed the data, the more the idea of 3 Atlas being a comet seemed less likely. What if this object was something else entirely? Some began to wonder if it was an alien probe, a message from a civilization far beyond our reach. Others speculated that the object could be some sort of advanced technology, its systems still functioning after millions of years of travel through the galaxy. But the most unnerving possibility was that 3 Atlas had not come to our solar system by accident. It had come with purpose. The mystery of 3 Atlas took a chilling turn as its behavior became even more deliberate. As the James Webb Space Telescope tracked the object, the data began to show something completely unexpected. The once faint green glow of 3 Atlas had shifted. The object, which had been steadily emitting light in a predictable pattern, had now become almost invisible to the naked eye. But the shift wasn't just visual, it was deeper, something far more significant. The infrared spectrum showed that the object had collapsed into a dark silhouette, surrounded by a faint ring of ionized gas. It was as if 3 Atlas had shed its outer appearance, revealing something vast and unfathomable beneath. This wasn't just a comet anymore, it was something else entirely, something far more sophisticated. Whatever it was, it had stopped reflecting sunlight. The object was now absorbing every wavelength of light around it, becoming a void in space, distorting starlight like a gravitational lens. It was as if 3 Atlas had activated some sort of cosmic cloaking device, vanishing from view without a trace. For days, scientists puzzled over what this could mean. How could an object from deep space behave in this way? The data suggested something extraordinary was taking place. A transformation, a reorganization of some kind. It was as if 3 Atlas was preparing for something far beyond what any comet was ever designed for. And then, just as the scientific community was coming to terms with the impossible, another anomaly occurred. Exactly at midnight UTC, something unprecedented happened. Instruments that had been tracking 3 Atlas, from the James Webb to the smallest amateur telescope, recorded a sudden surge of energy, not from space, but from deep beneath the Earth's crust. For months, 3 Atlas had been described as a simple interstellar wanderer, a silent object passing through our solar system. But as its glow faded and the world's instruments trembled from the final pulse, that illusion disappeared. The surge detected beneath Earth's crust was no accident. It was deliberate, intentional. Seismic readings across the planet began to oscillate in perfect rhythm with the same frequencies that had been emanating from 3 Atlas. Deep radar scans detected reflections from unknown structures buried miles below the Earth's surface. These weren't just echoes, they were reflections from vast, symmetrical formations pulsing faintly in perfect alignment with the fading energy from space. The implications were staggering. For the first time, the signal wasn't just passing through the planet, it was coming from within. The James Webb Space Telescope locked onto the dark silhouette where 3 Atlas had once been, captured one last image. What it saw was not just a point in the sky, but a halo, a vast, expanding sphere of light curling inward on itself, folding like a reflection collapsing into a mirror. The spectrographs detected something that no one could explain. Patterns of human radio emissions stretched and repeated, as if 3 Atlas were replaying every broadcast Earth had ever sent into the cosmos. Every signal, every message, every noise humanity had sent out into the universe was now coming back to us, distorted, amplified, and woven into the object's pulse. The silence that followed was more unnerving than any explosion. The universe, it seemed, had gone quiet. The cosmic background noise, the random hum of interstellar space, flattened into stillness. And then, just as suddenly, the halo of light shifted one last time. It formed a spiral, a pattern that had appeared in the orbits of Mars, Earth, and the Sun, a tripartite geometry embedded in the ancient stones of Earth long before we ever learned to look up. What happened next wasn't an explosion, but a reflection, a cascade of light that rippled through the solar system. Invisible to the human eye, it burned forever into the instruments that captured it. And when it faded, 3 Atlas was gone. There was no trace left, no dust, no trail, no gravitational residue. Only the pulse remained, faint but eternal, embedded in the electromagnetic hum of our planet. For weeks, the world listened. That hum, still there, low and repeating every 24 seconds, buried beneath the noise of our machines and oceans. Most couldn't hear it, but those who could described it the same way, not mechanical, not random, but alive. Perhaps 3 Atlas wasn't a comet at all. Maybe it was a message, a map, or even a memory. Maybe it wasn't coming to us. Maybe it was reminding us. The truth, though terrifyingly simple, was undeniable. The signal never left. It's still here. It's been here all along. So, what do you believe? Was 3 Atlas just a natural wanderer from deep space? Or was it something more, a response to a question we were never meant to ask? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if this story made you question everything you thought you knew about the cosmos, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who still believes space is silent. Because maybe it isn't silence at all. Maybe it's waiting for us to answer.